When is the Grand Egyptian Museum finally opening is a question that I get all of the time. In this video, I'm going to talk about the latest news on the Grand Egyptian Museum, including an insider update I have from a connection, somebody I know who works at the Grand Egyptian Museum. So let's get started talking about the gem and when it might be opening. I'm Gus with Egypt Adventures Travel. I create customized itineraries and connect travelers with local Egyptian guides, and I also lead private tours and group tours myself. You can send me an email anytime. I actually updated my email now, so it's gus@egyptadventurestravel.com, or you can also send me an email to my old email account, egyptadventurestravel@gmail.com. I'm looking forward to hearing from more travelers and helping them plan their trips to Egypt, even if they visit before the Grand Egyptian Museum opens. The Grand Egyptian Museum, for my viewers who might not have heard of it before, although it's been the talk of travel to Egypt for the last couple of years, is going to be the largest archaeological museum in the world when it finally opens. It's been under construction for basically a decade. There's been all sorts of starts and stops and pitfalls to the museum's completion and opening. But when it does finally open, it's going to have some artifacts on display that have never before been seen. And it's going to have the entire Tutankhamun collection, so the golden funerary mask and all of the other treasures from King Tut's tomb. The museum is located in Giza, about a 30-minute drive away from downtown Cairo, and it's right next to the Giza pyramids, which is going to make it really easy for tourists to visit the Giza plateau, see the pyramids and the Sphinx, and then head over to the museum to see all of the treasures of King Tut and thousands of other ancient Egyptian artifacts. Now I want to talk about the Grand Egyptian Museum's opening date. I want to start by sharing the information we have from Egypt so far with what the Grand Egyptian Museum's opening date is supposed to be. I want to talk about a couple of recent news stories that have come out about the Grand Egyptian Museum. I'm going to share some insider information from somebody I know who works at the gem. And I'm going to talk about some things that we can look forward to in the future, like some key events and times where I think an announcement might be made about the gem's progress, its completion, and its grand opening. So let's jump into those 4 topics. First topic, what has Egypt said already about concrete opening dates for the gem? Well, in September of last year, 2021, Zahi Hawass, one of the premier Egyptian Egyptologists, announced that the gem was going to be opening at the beginning of November 2022. That announcement, though, has never been followed up on. There's never been an official announcement made, and I personally don't think we're going to see a November 2022 opening of the gem. But in May of this year, the Egyptian government announced that the exterior of the Grand Egyptian Museum was going to be completed by June of 2022, and that the interior was going to be completed by September of 2022. So that got everybody excited, thinking, wow, well, if the exterior and interior are completed, then they're going to open the gem in November still. But we haven't heard any update on the exterior being fully finished or the interior being fully finished. And it's almost at this point of this video, October 2022. So it seems like the gem still is not completed and an official opening date from the government still has not been announced. The second thing I want to talk about is 2 recent news stories that have come out about the Grand Egyptian Museum. In September of 2022, at the COP27, the climate change summit that happened in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, the Arab Water Council announced that the Grand Egyptian Museum has won a Green Building Award. So the museum, even though it's not 100% finished, has already won this sustainable award and has been certified as a green building. And that just happened in September 2022. And then just a couple days ago from the making of this video, in late September 2022, the Prime Minister visited the Grand Egyptian Museum. Again, no announcement of the museum being completed, but during the Prime Minister's visit, they talked about certain things like the opening of the metro line. So we now have it confirmed that there will be a metro stop at the Grand Egyptian Museum. They talked about bridges that will connect the Grand Egyptian Museum to the Giza Plateau, so tourists can more easily either walk or take an electric vehicle between those 2 tourist sites. So we've had a couple of announcements about the gem. There's usually a news article about the gem that comes out every couple of months or so, but no concrete announcement of it's finished or it will be opening. The third thing I want to talk about is an insider tip I heard from somebody who works at the Grand Egyptian Museum. They said that there hasn't been talk about a concrete opening date yet for the museum that they've heard of, and that it doesn't seem like things are going to be ready for a November 2022 opening or an opening in 2022 at all. So after hearing that tip from that insider, I thought I've got to make another video and update my YouTube followers on the progress of the Grand Egyptian Museum and when it might be finally open. Now, the last thing I want to talk about in relation to the Grand Egyptian Museum is when we might hear an announcement about the gem, like a big announcement, like maybe the grand opening date. I have a hunch there's a 100th year anniversary of the discovery of King Tut's tomb in Luxor, that they're having a special conference, a lot of Egyptologists from around the world, to celebrate the 100th year anniversary and to talk about all things King Tut and all things Egyptology. Now, King Tut's treasures are going to be the main thing on display at the Grand Egyptian Museum. So what I think could happen is this November 4th through 6th, 2022, when this King Tut conference is going on in Luxor, we might see an announcement about the Grand Egyptian Museum. We might see somebody talking about when the King Tut golden funerary mask will finally move from the original Egyptian Museum to the gem. We might even hear something as great as the official opening date for the Grand Egyptian Museum. So mark your calendars for early November. I will definitely be releasing a YouTube video if I hear anything. And let's hope that Egypt will give us some more concrete information about the Grand Egyptian Museum at that King Tut conference. I know that was a lot of information on the Grand Egyptian Museum, so let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment below and let me know when you think the gem might open, or let me know if you're still considering traveling to Egypt, even if the gem doesn't open when your trip is. I think there's so much to see in Egypt that the gem should not be the one thing that makes or breaks somebody's decision to travel to Egypt. But let me know your thoughts. Are you willing to go to Egypt before the Grand Egyptian Museum is open? And if you like the content that you see on my YouTube channel, feel free to forward this video or my whole channel along to one of your friends or family members or coworkers who loves travel. I love getting the word out and helping more people discover Egypt, my second home. Until next week, I'm Gus with Egypt Adventures Travel. Thanks for watching.